And there we are. And there we have it. Hello. Hello, Max.
Hello, Eric. Welcome
Hello.
to Shots Fired, everybody.
Welcome to Shots Fired, episode 5. We're nearly there. We're nearly binge-worthy. So welcome to Shots Fired, everyone. It's been a good week.
Sure.
Says the person that's worked not as many hours as you have.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm feeling my age.
Let's do
like I'm now at that point in my life where I wake up and my body hurts and it's like all I've done is sleep. All I've done is lie down for the last, let's be honest, 6 hours, not 8 hours. But yeah, how have I slept wrong and like my knees hurt or my ankles hurt or my back hurts? It's like there's been no weight on them.
Yeah.
And yet here we are.
And you're a year on. You're 25, aren't you?
No.
Oh, you're 26. We're the same age.
Yeah.
We're good friends.
We're good friends. But I am a bit older than you because I'm 27 this year.
You see that.
Whereas you were 26 this year.
Yeah, correct.
On May the 5th.
No, not even.
No?
Close. No.
May the 1st.
Yeah, May the 1st. Yeah, that's when my
When's
birthday.
my birthday?
November.
Yeah.
1st.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a bad friend. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Well, mind you got my birth year wrong, so I think we're there. I think we're 1 for 1.
Yeah, definitely. So
Anyway.
yes, well, I hope you're well. I hope you're all right because you know, how many hours did you do this week?
49.
That's
Yeah. Or 51 if we're including like interviews I did for other jobs.
Yeah.
It's all right. My managers don't watch this show, so it's fine.
Exactly. Why would they? They're too busy being managers, you know.
They're too busy managing.
Too busy managing. We have a fun show for you tonight, guys. Well, today, this morning. Why did I say tonight? This is not a late show.
It is 11:05 a.m.
We've got loads to talk about, from current affairs, a bit of domestic bliss for both me and Max, and a very mysterious domestic bliss from Max about someone.
Yeah.
We've got some positive and uplifting news from me this week. We have some Since You've Been Gone as well. I don't know where should we start. And we've got some shout-outs. We start with shout-outs.
Shout-outs. Yep.
So
I've also got positive, cool news.
Okay. Oh, it's there you go. So shout-outs, guys. I would like to just once again thank everyone who is watching this, supporting this podcast, this show, this little venture of ours. If you are following us on Instagram at PodShotsFired, you might have noticed this week that we posted that we were currently over 100 downloads. Yay! Thank you very much to everyone. So for those of you that do listen and stuff like that through Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Google, wherever you're listening from, thank you very much. Or if you actually are watching as well through YouTube, that's amazing. It's, as you say, through the podcasting, through the streaming services like Spotify and Apple gets cut down to like an hour-ish, whereas for YouTube you get the full whack of what we talk about. So you get the
uncircumcised version.
The uncircumcised version. That's what you're going to call it. You get the whole you get the whole shaft. Oh
my God. But it also, Jesus, it also means that for our YouTube fans, we are already binge-worthy, and we've already been binge-worthy for some time. We're defining binge-worthy as 6 hours, like a Netflix miniseries. Speaking of Netflix, we're going to talk all about the writer's strike later.
True.
Seamless segue.
And well, after this episode, we'll probably have 10 hours of content on YouTube, which is quite good. So quite exciting.
Something like that.
Yeah. So thank you everyone who is watching. We do host through a website called Buzzsprout, which allows us to see where people are watching from, and people from Germany, Spain, Mexico, America, Australia, and England are listening to us. So thank you very much to everyone. So that's a big shout out to all of you guys.
Shout out to the fans.
The fans, and one fan in particular this week.
Or one Fran in particular?
On Fran this week. So we, as obviously, we post things on Instagram, and we posted a really funny. I thought it was a fun. I mean, technically, it was your idea.
It was my meme.
It was your meme because we'll get on to later. Me and Max have actually seen each other in person this week.
We have legs.
We
both have seen each other's legs.
Yeah. And on this post, if you've seen it on our Instagram at PodShotsFired, I am holding the I don't know what it's called, the thing in.
I don't know, the weird spiral sculpture in the Olympic Park in London.
Yeah, and that's
now a slide.
Is there a slide?
Yeah, there's a slide on it.
Why didn't we go up? Why didn't we go up it?
Eric, you can guess how much it costs for you to take that slide.
How much?
I don't actually know. 1 second.
Okay, £1,000. £1,000?
Ridiculous, £1,000. Once you've paid for the little potato sack to ride down it and gone up all the stairs, you won't get much change for £1,000.
£1,000?
Ridiculous, £1,000.
£1,000.
It's just what these things cost these days.
Now, if you understand that reference, let us know.
You're elite.
Anyway, so this is the photo that we put, and it is me with a funny. I can't
tilt that forward.
Oh, hang on.
This is great for our audio.
There you go. You can.
I might edit this bit out.
Yeah, you can see this bit here, and basically it says the crushing weight of being very funny. That's what it says.
He's got a very heavy metal structure balanced on his head. It's the perception trick.
Now, one of our listeners, Fran, has since then messaged us, the Shots Fired Instagram, and said the crushing weight of thinking you're very funny. Now, I think this is a positive thing, Max, because I think once you get a hater, there's an impact. You know, once you get a hater, there is your show is impactful and is relevant. So thank you very much, Fran, for hating on my humor. And I didn't even reply to this.
You just got to block out the haters.
We've got to block out the haters. And the reply to this was, facts don't care about your feelings. Mic drop.
Yeah, that was me.
Well done, Max. Well done. Thanks for backing up my brother here.
I've always got to back up my brother. In another one.
So thanks so much again to everyone that's listening. Everyone's commenting, and these are just funny because we love to interact with you guys. So
the slide costs for one person is 30 quid.
30 Great British pounds.
Yeah, for a family of 4, up to £100.
I mean, that's a lot of money for what?
For a 15-second slide.
For £30 for 15 seconds of excitement.
Yeah, that's about what you pay normally, isn't it?
Well, I mean, wow, you think that I'm that cheap?
I mean, for 15 seconds, that's a pretty good rate.
We'll move on. I've got no comebacks. That took me off guard.
You've got no comebacks, eh? Give it 20 minutes.
Yeah, but the gears are going to be slowly turning.
You've only got 15 seconds. I can't turn that slowly.
Let's.
I'm in charge of the edit this week, so all this is staying in.
Please, master. No.
That's a fun insight for our audience. We sort of take it in turns about who edits the episodes. I think you've done all but one so far.
What?
I did episode 3.
Yeah,
and you've done all the others.
Yeah. So the YouTube stuff that goes out for us, this is an insight to Shots Fired. The YouTube stuff that goes out to you guys is very easy to edit. So I just stick it into our editing software. I'm not saying which one because we're not sponsored. And input, like if you do watch our YouTube stuff, I input the breaks in the chat. So like the since you've been gone or the positive stuff, graphics and stuff. And that only takes me about half an hour. The actual audio stuff does take probably like half a day to edit because you got to go through the whole 2 hours of editing, cut stuff out, and obviously cut it down. Buzzsprout, because we pay for a subscription, does sort of limit how much you can upload per week depending on your subscription. So we try and upload at least an hour. So I think we're going to change that to more because the content's really good.
We're just so funny.
We're just fucking hilarious.
Anyway,
so we will do that, and so this week it's Max editing. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Can't wait for that edit. It's a good edit. What?
Thank you. Let's do the Since You've Been Gones.
Since You've Been Gone. So I mentioned earlier, and we also showed you a photo. Me and Max met in person, and wow, it's been what? Last time I saw you was probably February, March.
We did work it out, and I can't remember what we actually settled on. Was it August?
August.
We had lunch.
No.
We had lunch.
Yeah, it was Cafe Nero when we talked about reviving Shots Fired.
Yeah. That was when we were like, oh yeah, let's actually do that. And that's when you had your first coffee.
Yeah.
And I had the biggest emergency shit in my life after the coffee that I had from Cafe Nero.
Oh.
Yeah, it was bad.
Okay.
Touching cloth.
Oh, is that where you went to the toilet? Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that happened. I was just like, oh, she's going for a wee. I
was gone for like minutes.
Oh, time just flew by. Mate.
When you were away from me.
Yeah. So it was months we've not seen each other for, and my housemate, who is currently invisible to the public, had the weekend tickets. So I went to see The Weeknd, not just at a weekend, just The Weeknd, the artist who I keep telling people I've seen The Weeknd. They're like, who? I'm like, you must know who The Weeknd is. And yeah, so I went to see The Weeknd in London, Elizabeth Park Stadium, and I was like, the day before, I was like, oh, Max lives in London. I should give Max a call. So I messaged Max, and we met up. We met up at Stratford station, and we went for a little meal. And then you met Max. No, you are Max. You met Daniel.
I found myself.
And yeah, London, man. It's. I went on the tube again, which was fantastic. Oh, I love the tube.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, for Skegford, the things that I saw on the tube this time. I told Eric and Danny about this.
Oh, I know this story. Yeah. This is Hugh Edgeworth level.
Stop! You don't even. That's not confirmed yet, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Is it? I don't know that it was confirmed. I just thought it was. Skegford's here. Yeah. Okay, so for Skegford, the things that I saw on the tube, since we've been gone, I love that yours is really wholesome, uplifting. Oh, I saw my friend. I went to a concert, and I'm like, I saw Noncery on the tube. So basically, I was on the tube. I think I was on the way to work. It was about 4:30. And I was on the tube, and a bunch of, I know they were kids because they were wearing jerseys of like a kids group, quite a well-known kids like theatre group. And there was 5 or 6 girls. I'd hazard a guess at under the age of 14, possibly 12 to 10, like year 6, year 7 age really is what I'd guess, but I'm not great for guessing ages. Anyway, they are children, very obviously children. And this old man, maybe 50 plus, just sort of sidles up to them and is like, oh, good afternoon, ladies. Where have you been today? And they were all like, theatre school. And like doing the look to each other that all women know what a look I'm talking about. And he was like, oh, and were you dancing? And it was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So I was not too far away, but I sort of rotated my body and leaned against the glass divider. So I was just sort of present in this bit. And the tube like wasn't busy. So he could have sat down at the other end of the carriage. Like there were empty seats, but he chose to stand where he was standing right next to these young girls. And he was just like asking them questions about like where they were from and, well, where's theatre camp? And it was just really awful. And so I'm just getting gradually closer and closer to these girls. And I'm in my head thinking, okay, how am I going to pretend that I'm their au pair? How am I going to pretend they're now and be like, okay, girls, it's one more stop, and just get off with them and then get on the next tube, whatever. Just how am I going to step in? And then luckily he got off he got off the tube as the next stop appeared. And as he left, he was like, oh, I hope to see you girls again. Good luck. You're all shining stars. You all look wonderful and so young and vibrant, blah, 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 as he was leaving. And these girls like and then like physically relaxed as soon as he'd gone. And I was just like, what? That was mad. But it just took me right back to a time when I was a child and had weird men that I actually knew say inappropriate things about how I was dressed, or like say they could see my panties, so I had to turn pull my trousers up, and that was one of my teachers. And I was like, there was no one that stood up for me then. There was no one who was around who said or did anything, even just like stood next to me or anything like this. So I was like, I will be that adult. And I was getting really agitated. And it was just like, yeah. So that was the behavior that I saw on the tube this time. Wow.
Now that is pretty creepy. Just I don't know really what to say. It's
so common. That's what's tragic. And like there was a thing that
I'm not on public transport enough to know it's so common. But is it common in public transport? Or is it common on the tube?
It's common everywhere.
Okay.
So basically, Sky News has come under scrutiny a little bit because this week they were filming a thing about like sports in schools and getting young people engaged in sports. And when they were filming the boys' teams playing rugby, it was a wide shot of the whole rugby field, the boys' teams running up and down from like 20 meters away. Then they were filming the girls playing netball, and these girls are in primary school, and they were filming like belly button below, just like you could just see legs running through the frame from very close shot. And these girls, like their netball uniform was like small shorts or small skirts, which is a skirt with shorts underneath. But they, their legs sort of mid thigh to ankle were exposed because that's what netball uniforms look like. And like these girls are 8, they're 9, and we're not getting their upper bodies, their faces. We're not seeing any sport. You could only know that they were netball because you saw a netball bounce in the background, or like they said these girls are playing netball. But like it was so close, just their legs. And then when the boys do it, it's the whole pitch. It's them outside covered in mud. Like it starts young.
Yeah.
And we're so desensitized to it. Yeah. So. But we have a fun show for you guys today.
Yeah. I mean, my experience of the tube was actually I'm gonna show you my knowledge of the tube, and it's quite fucking good, right?
Okay, I'm ready.
So we to get into London, we were like, I don't want to go into London because going into London we will never get out. So what we did was I used my knowledge of where you used to live. You used to live in Debden. Yeah. And I thought, hang on. Epping is on the Central Line, and I could go to Epping. Did a Google. Epping is not covered by the congestion charge thing, so you can go to Epping.
So
you can go to Epping and get the tube into London. So I thought, amazing, using my knowledge of London from you. So I went to Epping. Epping to Stratford is the Central Line one way. Me and my housemate Daniel had a seat. We were comfortable. I say comfortable, as much as comfortable you can be on the tube.
On the Central Line.
Honestly, right? The metal grinding noise gave me thrills and joys. I love that metal grind on grind that you hear.
That's screaming. Unlubricated metal, hot metal screeching against itself.
Yeah.
Gave you a little nostalgia trip.
And then there's just random things that happened on it. It's like there was a guy like chatting up his girl on the tube, which me and my housemate found it fucking hilarious. There was just random stuff that happened, and you're like,
was she a girl?
She was a girl,
or a woman.
A woman, I think it was a woman.
A woman.
A woman.
Okay,
a woman. A woman. She was a woman over 16 in age.
Over 18.
Over 18. I don't know, 16, 18, over the illegal age.
16 is the age of consent, but 18 is when you're an adult.
So 16 to 18 is where you could be called a nonce.
Anything below 18.
Yeah. Okay.
So she was an adult. She was a woman.
I didn't check her passport.
But you can tell if someone is a woman or a girl.
I mean, that's an interesting topic these days, I think.
Right.
Because I feel like it's harder, and it's harder to guess the age right these days.
Yeah.
Because
that's just because we're getting old and the Alzheimer's is setting in.
True. But like you see a lot of like young girls and young people going to clubs and stuff like that, obviously, and a lot of 16 to 17, even 14, 15-year-olds are dressing so much like adults.
Yeah.
That it's really hard to tell, I would say, for people.
Yeah.
Now, one of my friends that I know uses the tattoo analogy. If she has a tattoo, she's over 18. I'm like, but then someone will say to you, oh, but I had a tattoo when I was 16 because I'm a mate who had a tattoo. So the analogy.
If she has a shit stick and poke tattoo, you don't trust it. It's like a smiley face that's a bit wonky.
It's like deformed.
Got that from when she was 16 in her friend's lounge.
And then it was just little things like that. And I want to have a little segment called London segment, because the stuff that happened that me and Daniel saw were just hilarious, which we'll get on to in a minute. Anyway, on the tram back, this is where the knowledge comes in that you gave me. So London Stadium, London Elizabeth Stadium, the West Ham Stadium, for those of you who don't know, is massive. So we will go to Stratford from London Stadium, and it's obviously packed, crammed with people. You don't want to go there. And I know that majority of people that went to the concert were going into London. We're going into London to, I don't know, get a train or whatever. And I said to Daniel, not many people are going to go out of London. Not many people are going to go to like Epping. And I was sort of right, because the tube we got was busy, but wasn't horrifically sardine packed. Like, I think after 2 or 3 stops. Just
Leytonstone is always, it gets dead after Leytonstone.
And and we were sat for a good 20 minutes after that. And I was like, that is, I told you, Daniel. I said, but people like, and we saw obviously that over the train tracks, like people going into London, it was just mayhem. And I was like, right, it was, me and Daniel had to hug it, and I had to hold on to him because I have nothing to grab onto.
A gentle caress.
Yeah, I was just
in your maid uniform.
Yeah, but it was fine. So that was my tube story. But yeah, London, right? London. So we were at this gig, and we were quite early, so we sat down and we were just people watching. And I love people watching. I think people watching in London is special because
because the people are special.
So there were these 3 girls in front of us, and
girls or women.
I'm going to say girls, because I don't think there were like one thing about the Weekend Stadium. One thing about the Weekend concert. It was my first, my second. I've seen Drake, but I played my first concert that I felt old, because there were quite a lot of young people there, like quite a lot of 16, 17, maybe 18 to 20-year-olds there. And it just felt like I was an oldest person there, really, because a lot of like when we stood to watch him, there was a group of girls, and these were girls. I feel like these were girls. And one non-story about them girls is that there was a man, an old man with his son, and not that he was chatting this girl up, which was clearly a 15 to 16, but he was chatting to her. And when she was trying to find her friend on the phone, he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna use my red jumper as a beacon," and stuff like that. And I just felt a bit uneasy then. I just felt a bit weird. But
it's really, it must be very difficult for genuinely concerned adult men to generally try and look out for particularly young girls.
Yeah.
Like, as if she was in distress and he was like, "Oh, your friend's looking for you, I'll swing my jumper around."
Yeah.
Like, if that had been a mother, no one would have no one would have batted.
Maybe if that was a woman, maybe if it was actually a woman doing that.
Yeah,
as well.
It would have been. So I genuinely, my heart goes out to genuinely like concerned men, because also, I've got a lot of friends who are scout leaders, and our child safety policy is obviously completely airtight.
Yeah,
and everyone's always up to date on all their training and things for that. But you just have to trust common sense as well. But it's like it's nice to see that, like, particularly men my age are becoming a bit more aware of like the fact that it's sort of everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're looking out for it. So the fact that you noticed, like, because I guarantee 10 years ago, people wouldn't have even noticed that and been like, oh, is this something I need to just be aware of? Not necessarily step in, not intervene, not necessarily make judgments, but just notice it.
Yeah.
I mean, the man was there with his son, so all likelihood is completely innocent, but it's just like, yeah, it's a really difficult line to walk.
Yeah. Well, but going back to that, it's London thing, that so we've sat there, and these girls, I think generally these were girls, I think these were 16, 17-year-old girls. I don't think they were older than that. They just gave that vibe, taking loads of photos, like in different positions and doing different hand gesture movements, etc. And they left their other friend, there's three of them, one of their friends been left in the middle to look after their fan and some drinks. Now, there was a small gap between like her sitting, their drinks, and those other people sitting. And people were just cutting through that gap. But twice, not once, actually, 3 times, people were just cutting through, not looking where they're going, and their drinks just went flying. And then the third time it happened, they kicked the fan, which was quite an expensive fan apparently, fell into their drinks, broken. But like we were just looking at each other, like, I was laughing. Daniel was like, don't laugh. I'm like, and I was just pissing myself because I'm like, what? People are just not looking. People are just not looking where they're going and just kick it. And this looked like, it must be some kind of spirit, like lemonade, vodka, whatever, because it was like in a lemonade. But like, wow, like people were just very, didn't really know what was happening. But
it's like blinkers on.
Yeah. I need to get there, and I'm just gonna go there. I'm not gonna look where I'm going.
That's a very London thing. I mean, obviously, when you have a big concert like that, you can't tell who's kind of come in and who's a Londoner. But if you're a Londoner, and I'm unfortunately a Londoner now, because I can now spot when people who've not lived in London are in London, and that's what makes you a Londoner. And also weaving, like, where a couple of times when we were in Stratford in the Westfield getting food, I would just weave through the crowd to get where I was going, and then I would stop and be like, I've lost my Northerners. Where are my boys? Where have they gone? And I look around, and you'd be like 10 paces behind, like with like meerkatting over this little crowd of people who are shuffling along because they're also not from London, standing on both sides of the escalators. The bastards. Stand to the right.
No etiquette.
Stand to the right. I've got places to be. And that's the problem. Everyone has places to be.
Yeah.
And I was saying this to you there, like, the grind never stops. The culture of London is that everyone's busy, everyone's got shit to do, everyone's going somewhere. No one leaves the house for fun. No one leaves the house for nothing to do. People have left the house because they have a place to be and a place to get to. Woe betide anyone who gets in the way of that journey. And so when it comes to, and that like bleeds through everything, and when it comes to just traversing through a crowd, people don't look like, you can't put your fan or your drinks or your bag or your child, I don't know, just on the floor, because it'll get punted across the stadium.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, on the way back, because we're like, right, we need to catch the train, we need to catch the underground and get to Epping. We were weaving. We were hard weaving. I was like Anakin Skywalker like in a ship. Yeah. And I was like getting through like little tight gaps. And even Daniel, who he knows that I'm a big bulky guy that like doesn't like weaving, he was very impressed with the fact that I was like getting into really tight spaces
Get that slalom on.
So it was really, really good though. But honestly, it was a great time. I just loved watching people in London. It was amazing.
You see all sorts.
Yeah, you saw so much. The downside of London that happened was our next point, and that my car broke down.
Oh, it did actually break down.
I say it broke down. I say that the car sort of, when we got to London, we got to Epping Station to park, quite a nice station, and I did the most London thing. I think when I told you, you were like, London. Because I drove down there, for those who don't know, Epping Station is like a ramp down into the car park. It's like an open car park. And Daniel goes, look there. And I looked at, and there's this parking space, and I just went, and I turned like really quickly.
Handbrake turn in third gear into this parking space.
I do think that, I think I went the wrong way around, and I jammed into this parking space because my Suzuki Ignis is really small. I was fine. And then this woman was also driving towards that parking space, and she was going to go in it. And I went in it, like I sped into that parking space before her. And apparently, she was unhappy, swearing, showing all sorts of hand signals at me.
All these gang signs.
And then you were like, you're such a Londoner for doing that.
Yes. That's a very London thing to do. Be like finders, keepers. You just got to be ruder if you want to win, which is horrible because it's like, like there was I think I've mentioned it on the show before. I actually can't remember, but when I was at Embankment, which is right next to like the London Eye, next to Waterloo, the National Theatre, the Tate, it's the South Bank. It's a real sort of hub of London, Embankment Station. There were some tourists who were trying to buy a ticket from the Oyster machine thing, and they were not speaking English. I don't know what language they were speaking, but they weren't English, and they were just struggling with the machine, not sure which buttons to press, not sure which ticket to get. And this woman behind me, we waited for literally maybe 30 seconds. And this woman behind me was like, excuse me, are you actually using that machine? You're just holding everybody up. Like, get some sense. Are you actually? And she just like snapped at these people. And they just were like, oh, sorry. We just didn't know what we were doing. And they moved to the side and carried on their discussion. And I was like, oh, I could have helped them. I didn't know that they were like struggling that much. But like, instead of just saying, are you all right? Do you need some help? This woman just went, what are you fucking doing? Yeah. And they had a kid with them as well. She was like, are you actually fucking using the machine? Blah, blah, blah. And then she like went off and topped up her Oyster card and went on. And I was like, oh my God. Because I was like, Northerner Max would have spotted that they needed help, and I'd probably have offered to help. But I just finished work. It was 11 p.m. I was tired, and I just sort of like autopiloted, saw there was a queue and just stood in the queue and just was just in my own little world sort of thing. And it's just like, I spent long enough in London to know that this sounds terrible. There's so many people that need help all the time when you're walking through London. People are lost. People want to cross the road. People don't know how to use machines. People can't read the map. Lots of homeless people. Loads of people need help, and you just get a bit desensitized to it because you just see it all the time. And it's like, a year ago, I'd have straight away seen that they were struggling and been like, oh, do you need help? But I don't do that so much anymore. And I was like, oh, that's a bit of self-reflection I need to do. I mean, that's the thing. Like when I was, nothing like that happened to us, thankfully, in terms of there was nothing about no one that needed help, but it would have been like, that's not right. But as you say, a lot of people get desensitized from it, and a lot of people think it's normal. A lot of people think it's like when me and you went up last year, there was people begging on the tram, like people walking through the tram asking for money. And I was like, why? And I was like, I had nothing on me, but you were like, that's just the norm. People come and beg, people come and busk. Is that people start busking on the trams as well? To just get by. And it's just sad. And it's for me, it bothered me that I hadn't immediately spotted that I could have just helped them. But for me, it's another whole level of escalation to immediately feel so entitled to your precious London Underground that you snap at people just for like taking 30 seconds to know what kind of ticket they need in another language that isn't their first language, in a busy station with their kid. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's late. They were just taking just a little bit longer just to figure out what was going on. And the immediate reaction of this woman to be like, you're fucking incompetent. Like, my God.
Yeah.
So that's something that you kind of see with, particularly, I've also found it with people who were like born and raised in London and have lived there all their life. It's this weird sense of entitlement and snobbery that they're like true Londoners and they alone know how the city works and keep to the city beat, and it just means that they're just rude to people. It's like, oh my God. Anyway,
so yeah,
very quickly,
go on.
Complete change of topic.
Oh,
the polls about your outfit.
I thought we did those. Did we not do those?
We didn't do that. No. So we talked about it in person, but we didn't.
Okay.
But the poll last episode was the Glastonbury outfits. I put all 4 of them up.
Yes,
and then I also put you up in a little maid outfit.
Yes, you did.
And I voted for outfit number 4, which was a nice little white button down and some shorts. I thought you looked very dapper. But the winning outfit was number 3 by a landslide.
The Friday outfit I had for Arctic Monkeys were all in black. Yes. I have just changed that as my profile picture.
Yes, I saw that.
Did you see the caption? Did you like the caption?
Some eye candy, that one.
Yeah. So it's
with your legs out
for your viewing pleasure. That's what I put.
All 15 seconds of it.
Stop it.
But then also technically your little maid outfit that I made you put on, that would, proportionally that would technically have won because that received a 100% approval. But like outfit 3 didn't have 100% approval, mostly because it was, actually I think it was only me that didn't vote for outfit number 3.
Yeah. You were the minority.
But unanimous love for the maid outfit.
Everyone loved it, and thanks everyone for voting. It was 10 out of 10 for that.
I think what I might do in the edit is like take this audio and just slot it 10 minutes earlier. So
it makes sense.
Because I can do that. Like, media is lies. We can do what we want.
Yeah. Media is lies.
Oh yeah, what the point of this story? Your car broke down.
Yeah, so I got to London. Anyway, I got to London, parked like a Londoner, and I was like, "Oh, Daniel, that's a really bad sound." And he goes, "Yeah, no good, mate." I'm like, "Anyway, let's go see the weekend. Let's forget about it." And on the tube, it was me just contemplating life while I don't have breakdown cover because I didn't. I was like,
when you told me the story when we met up for like lunch, I was like, "Just buy breakdown cover now."
Yeah,
in the next 8 hours. Just buy breakdown cover.
If I were to do that and break down, it would be void because you think it's like there's a buffer period of like 14 days to have a legitimate breakdown cover. Anyway, the car did drive to Nottingham, 130 miles to Nottingham, and I did bring it in onto the garage on Tuesday. And the garage told me that it's a new gearbox and the whole repair because I was had an MOT done will cost me a nice round or approximate 2,000 Great British pounds.
2,000 pounds.
2,000 pounds.
Ridiculous 2,000 pounds.
It's absolutely harrowing. The cost of cars and it was really funny because I dropped my car off and I looked online like what's the most expensive thing to replace on a car, and it said gearbox. I'm like, that would be fine, and they're like, oh yeah, your gearbox, mate. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Just like the person breaking the fourth wall, it was in fact not fine.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it's going in on Tuesday. The little TARDIS, as I like to call her, is going in on Tuesday. And she's going to get everything done. So hopefully by Friday, hopefully by next time we meet up, we will have an update on the TARDIS to see how she's doing. But she's going to have a brand new gearbox fitted in. She's going to have a new clutch for what those car fax maniacs going in there. She's going to have 4 new tires and an anti-roll bar putting. So all that, 2,000.
Anti what?
Roll bar. So it stops the car from rolling over.
Oh,
And
wait,
then
like back, like
like
sideways?
tipping. Yeah, it stops the car from tipping.
Oh, I see. Oh,
So
right. Oh,
when you go
okay.
around the corners, your car won't tip. You have that on apparently. So
But when you do those third gear handbrake turns into parking spaces.
correct. Yeah. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but you know, it's. I think obviously you don't drive, don't you? You don't currently drive.
No. I was meant to take my test. June 2020, and then for obvious reasons that didn't happen. And I was very annoyed because I used to be quite an anxious driver. On like my third ever lesson ever, I got rear-ended on a roundabout in Nottingham. Do you know the roundabout by the Playhouse theatre?
Maybe yeah, like the one next to. The one that if it goes uphill, it's one of the yeah.
Yeah, basically a motorbike like cut across the roundabout, and it's like a roundabout with a garden in the middle,
Yes,
and they were
yeah,
being
yeah.
viewed by police, and I did an emergency stop, which I'd literally learnt earlier that lesson, and then it wasn't a bad rear end, but I got like, jump like shuttled forward by the car behind, and the driving instructor took me home. I don't think if I've actually ever told my parents that story. Well, they know now.
I know now, yeah.
and then I didn't drive for like 6 months. And then I finally kind of worked up the courage to start driving again when I was in Derby. And it was going pretty well. I had a driving instructor that I really got on with. And then I was meant to take my test, and then COVID happened, so it didn't happen. And I can remember getting my provisional when I was 17 and thinking, I can do this. I'm not going to let this thing expire. Expires November 2023. Easy. It was, in fact, not easy.
Spoilers.
And then since post-COVID, when I could, in theory, drive again, most of driving instructors still wear face masks, even now. And as a deaf person who lip reads, that's not very good. And then the driving instructors I found that are like a bit more deaf friendly are all automatic. And it's like, I would be personally completely fine just learning automatic stuff, but Joe currently doesn't have an automatic car, so then I couldn't actually share drive. It's a whole thing. Anyway, no, I can't legally drive.
Does Joe drive?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like when I was in Africa, we traveled by motorbike everywhere, which was great. And I didn't get motorbikes until I rode a motorbike, and I'm like, yes. But then also I'd drive Jeeps around in Bonaire and drive Jeeps around in Africa in sort of open dirt roads where there are no roundabouts. And if there are roundabouts, nobody treats them as roundabouts. So you needed to, like if you needed to go like what we might say like the fourth exit, they'll just cut over. They'll just drive it around because nobody drives over 40 miles an hour. Because the culture there is that wide rush.
Yeah.
Obviously it doesn't work here. So I can operate a car. I can operate a manual. I just can't legally do it on the road.
I mean, and you live in, I would say, obviously you live in such a big city like London, one of the biggest in UK, that the public transport is fair, good, underground.
It's good.
Like,
I mean, people love to moan about the tube, but when you think about it, it's extraordinary.
Oh.
The sheer volume of people that get moved through that system every day is staggering. And it's like sometimes my tube is delayed by like 5 or 10 minutes. But you think about like that's pretty amazing that there's hundreds upon thousands of trains
I would
all
rather
just work in this dance. Like it's amazing.
I would rather take the tube from Epping to Stratford than drive from Epping to Stratford, because the driving, even the M25, the driving on the M25 was stressful enough. And I don't know how people do it in London. I just don't know how people do it with one-way system, etc. Like that's the thing about like, so although I say I live in Nottingham, I live on the outskirts in Ilkeston, and this living so close yet so far from Nottingham, and the transport system being poor is probably the best word the most PC word I'm going to use, or the most kid-friendly word I'm going to use, poor, Okay, we've already said the F word.
Just say shit.
Oh yeah. Oh, fucked. That like there is only one bus that goes into Nottingham, and it goes into the centre of Nottingham, and for me to get to work, I've got to take the tram into where I'm going. So I have to go up and then down. It's just not great. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's just not great. And
growing up in Nottingham rurally, within 10 miles of you actually, which is fortuitous. That's a fun fact for our viewers. That Eric and I grew up in neighbouring towns and didn't ever meet until university, when we both moved out of county.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me to get into Nottingham from my little village was, I'd walk a mile and a bit to the bus stop. Like, I'd walk a mile to the nearest bus, and that bus would come 3 or 4 times an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
The 100 bus. It's now called something different. And get the 45-minute bus in, and then be tied to that on the way out, and reverse the journey, walk the mile home afterwards.
Whereas, I think I'm going to say that Berlin, when I went to Berlin, it's probably the most public transport friendly, because you have buses, overground, underground, you have trams, and it's just so well connected that, I don't know. Like, if I was to live in London, I probably wouldn't have a car, because everything I need, and that expenditure to pay the train tickets to go to up north to Manchester to see my family would be worth it. Whereas having a car in London, I don't see a point.
This is the thing. So Joe like enjoys driving. He loves driving. But every time we want to use Sheila, our car, well, his car, she's a little Citroen C1. Every time we want to use Sheila, we have to jumpstart her.
Oh, okay.
It's been a few weeks.
Okay.
So we now just have like a little jumpstart thing that Joe bought and just keeps in the glove box.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but like how much does it roughly cost to run your car for 1 month, including fuel, tax, insurance, whatever?
Okay. Let me quickly get. The total cost for my car, and that includes the finance that I pay for it. So that's one of the things. People are going, your gearbox is shagged. You just sell it. But unfortunately, I'm on finance, so I've still got quite a lot of money to pay for it. So I've got to fix it. Like, I can't just sell it. So the finance on the car. Where's my camera? The finance on the car. The insurance, because last year I had a small crash, so the insurance has gone up. Hopefully, the insurance will go down this year. The insurance, so finance, the insurance, the car tax, and fuel. That is literally putting it into perspective of, this is per month. I'm not actually adding the MOT or service that I do every year on it. So it's just monthly expenditure. It's apparently, according to this calculator, £311.
Woof. Because for the tube a month, I probably spend maybe £110 on the tube every month.
But do you? This is now tube talk. But do you now? Do you pay for like a monthly, like a fee, or do you pay for like a monthly charge, or is it just when you tap in, you pay for it?
So you top up your Oyster card,
right?
And you can put your rail card on your Oyster card. You can link them together. So my 26 to 30 rail card. This is riveting talk for everyone, I'm sure. My transport talk. But we should call it something different. But basically, the Oyster card, you can link them together. My 26 to 30 rail card is linked to my Oyster card. I just top up 60 quid at a time, and it comes to about 100 to 120 pounds a month, maybe 110. And I can use that on buses as well. I can use it on the overground. And it's just like, talking about like running a car in London, like that's 200 quid less a month. Or, in my opinion, more efficient form of transport, and technically environmentally better, because for the million people or something that use the tube every day, like,
I don't know about you, but
so many fewer cars.
I enjoy the tube.
I do kind of, in a way, because that's because I live 45 minutes away. I think it's funny, if I had a 10-minute tube ride, I'd probably just want to walk it, even if it was raining. But because I live 45 minutes away on the tube, that's time I can read a book, I can knit. It's time after work I can kind of decompress. Whereas like if you're driving, you can kind of like listen to a podcast or whatever, but you're still sort of thinking because you're concentrating on driving. Whereas the tube, I can just sit down on one that terminates at Mill Hill East and just zone out.
Yeah.
45 minutes after work. Anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about the tube.
It's a lot of, that's going to be a fun edit.
I'm going to get this down to 5 minutes of tube talk.
Okay.
Should we talk about, do you want to talk about the writer's strike or do you want to talk about domestic bliss?
Let's do the writer's strike because that's current affairs, but not marital ones. I think you know more than this about me, so I will just listen and feedback. I will ask you questions about what I think or what is happening. So tell me, because I also think that one thing that's what shocked me is that you hear currently in this day and age about NHS young doctors striking. You hear about the public sector striking, railway striking. But I've not heard that the writers were striking. So please tell me what you know about this, because I don't really know. Okay.
So the strike is carried out by WGA, Writers Guild of America. And it is primarily American focused, but it is starting to affect like this side of the pond, entertainment. And for people who are like, oh, it's just artists, whatever, I'm going to immediately say, fuck off, because in lockdown, when everyone was going mad with boredom, the thing that everybody turned to was the artists. They turned to podcasts, to TV, the binge culture was born, music. Everyone wanted to learn to paint. Everyone wanted to learn to bake banana bread. Everyone wanted to learn to sew their own clothes, to sew their own face masks. People turned to the artists. And it's that quote from Dead Poets Society where it's like, there are many noble pursuits like being a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. These are how humans live. But being a writer, a poet, an artist, a painter, these are why humans want to live. Wow. And so like, it is, and I've butchered that quote. It's a wonderful quote. Look it up. Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams at his finest. But, you know, artists are important for human well-being. Like, okay, if we had no painters, the world could function, but it'd be a boring, minimalist, grey place. So art is important, and I will die on this hill. And I'm very passionate about this strike. So the reason they are striking, the strike is pretty historically monumental because 97.85% of WGA members voted to strike. That's almost unanimous. When was the last time there was a unanimous human decision on anything? People couldn't even decide if COVID was real. It's an amazing statistic, the amount of people that have unanimously got behind this cause. The predominant reason they are striking is called residuals. Now, when you write a TV show or a sitcom series, anytime an episode is aired, you get paid. Anytime someone like adapts that, you get paid as a writer, like royalties, if you like. However, streaming services such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Now TV, all of that, they don't do it in the same way. And it's getting a bit of a piss take because for example, Netflix at any time can just remove a TV show from its library. And that obviously means that they're not getting publicity and shared. And also, streaming services do not pay for residuals. They pay the team a lump sum of money to buy their TV show to put it in their library. So if you've made a film, Eric, instead of every time someone plays that film, you get 10 quid. Instead of that, I'm just going to guess 100 people will watch the film. I'll give you £100. That's how much you would earn if we were doing residuals. And you think, great. What if 1,000 people watch that film? Instead of getting, £10,000, you're getting 100 quid. But we've already, I've paid you for it. It's mine. I can distribute it how I like. And that's a bit of a piss take. And so the things that have really suffered from this is like sitcom sketch shows, things like Saturday Night Live, the Conan show, and what are the other ones, like Jimmy Fallon and all that, because all their writers have gone. And Conan did an amazing sort of stand up for the strike thing, because he was like, we have no writers. So now you're stuck with the content I want to make up as a TV presenter with no writing talent. And what he did was he just got his wedding ring and span it on the table multiple times. This is on live television for his massive show. He just timed how long he could do it for. And he just did it a few times, and the longest he got was about 41 seconds. So that was like the quality of TV, because there was no writers to actually entertain people. Another example is Valentina Garza, who wrote 2 episodes of Jane the Virgin, which is very popular. She got 2 cents from that.
Wow.
Her income for writing 2-hour-long episodes of a very, very popular TV show was 2 cents, 2 pennies, because they're not paid. Another bracket of this that's very recently come into controversy is AI.
Okay.
AI is really, really problematic for artists, because if you just go onto ChatGPT and say, write me a script for an episode of The Big Bang Theory, for example, it only knows, first thing, it only knows how to structure that, how you see how a script should look. It's got like interior living room, Sheldon is on the sofa. The only reason it knows how it should look is because other scripts have just been slammed into it to feed it the algorithm to know how it should look like. So when you type in screenplay, it knows how it should look. Often that's happened without the writer's consent. The writer hasn't been compensated for using their material to train this AI algorithm. Also, the quality of the stuff that the AI spits out is typically bad. But what some what's the word, platforms have been doing, and producers and production companies have been doing, is taking a writer's work, throwing it into AI and saying, make a punchline at the end about shoes that are too small. And the AI will take that writing, adapt it a little bit, maybe it won't even make sense, and just sort of shoehorn a punchline in. And then the production houses will just use that. And so they're not paying the writers to adapt their own writing, or just going to these human beings being like, oh, can you add a joke in about shoes at the end? They're just using AI to do it. And not only is the quality not good, it's also very bad, morally, to do that. And so any writers out there, please, I beg you, do not put your uncopyrighted material into ChatGPT to check your grammar or to give you ideas, because ChatGPT then can take that writing, and if then someone else comes along and says, give me an idea about a queen who finds a fairy, and you've written a story about that, ChatGPT can just take your writing and just spit it out to that new person. Maybe they'll tweak it a bit, maybe they won't, because there's no legal intellectual property protection yet for ChatGPT and AI. It's just too new. There's another thing. This is a real monologue.
No.
There's another, and then a third prong. A third prong to it is called mini rooms. So it used to be that you get 10 great writers into a room together to write something funny. But now, to cut costs and studio production costs, they're just getting 1 or 2 writers to do it, and then using AI and supplemental technology to do it. And it's it's just not going to be as good because they're not paying as many people, but they expect the same amount of workload. And it all kind of comes down to unsustainable growth from the last 20 years is starting to catch up with studios because they're not paying people to do the work. They're relying on technology, which isn't going to be as good. And also they're demanding the same amount and the same quality of work. And something that I think is incredibly interesting is that we are starting to get some YouTubers who are being offered some very lucrative writing and content creation deals. And a lot of YouTubers have come out and said, oh, I support the strikes. But we will see who really supports the strikes, who is really an ally of the workers, depending on which famous YouTubers suddenly end up in the writing rooms of these sitcoms and things like that. So that's a sort of very whistle-stop tour of the writers' strike. An example of studios making bad decisions. Quantum of Solace.
Okay.
Quantum of Solace.
Like the James Bond film.
The James Bond film, 2007. So there was a strike, a Writers Guild of America strike in 2007 while Quantum of Solace was being made, and the writers walked out. And that meant that Daniel Craig and the director, whoever he was, had to finish the movie by themselves. I've never seen a James Bond fan say that Quantum of Solace is their favourite.
It's just there.
Yeah, it sure does exist because the last 45 minutes are utter garbage because all the writers left. And it's like, yeah, you can tell. And it's just, the studios are not paying writers. They are not guaranteeing work for writers. There's no longer budget for young new writers to shadow, to learn how to run a show. So like you've got the writers of Succession and the writing of Yellow Jackets and all these famous things going on now, Beef on Netflix. They are all writers that started out shadowing other writers that were running a show. But there's no longer budget for that. And so you're not going to get, in 20 years' time, there's not going to be another, like, they don't make it like they used to. It's like, because they don't pay anyone. That's the Whistle Stop Tour. Questions, thoughts, and opinions.
The thing about the AI thing is quite scary because me and Skegford at work, for example, we joked about it for a couple of times, and we put in, for example, I can't remember what it was. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Skegford, but we put in if Morrissey were to write a rejection letter into or was it something like that? Correct me, mate. Into ChatGPT, and it spat out this like letter and with all these words, and I'm like, that's scary because the way the tone and the way of writing it was very Morrissey like. So so the way that's worked is that someone has taken the time to input data about Morrissey's writing, whatever, into ChatGPT to train it so that when someone says Morrissey, this is the style. And I didn't know any of this, but I'm not surprised you're telling me this also because a lot of content that I watch recently, I watch a lot of Marvel stuff. So a lot of the Marvel Disney Plus stuff that I watch have been garbage, been badly, confusingly written. And, I just find that a lot of stuff before like the Infinity War and before Infinity War and before like Endgame. So Skegford has just said, we also got it to write a building-wide update on process if we were written as a William Shakespeare play. Yeah, stuff like that. We asked it and it produced content. And going back to the current content, a lot of the content is just being pushed out so quickly. Yeah. And it's being either pushed to, like, you talk about royalties. I can go to the cinema today and watch a Marvel film or Indiana Jones or whatever, and in 2 months, 3 months' time, it's on a streaming service.
Yeah.
And this is where you go because the studios will take it down from the cinema, so you no longer get royalties, and then you put it on streaming services, and then that writer doesn't get any royalties.
Yeah, and so what it does is how something how well something does in box office will affect the lump sum.
Yeah.
Because if it does really well, so like
The Flash is a good example. It bombed.
The Flash is a good example. Yeah, it bombed. And so it won't have sold for very much on a streaming platform.
Yeah.
But that means that if it stays up on a streaming platform for a year, imagine something staying in a cinema for a year.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's income for a writer and production team.
Yeah.
But if it stays on Amazon Prime, whatever it is, for a year, whether 10 people watch it, whether 10,000 people watch it, the writer is not being compensated any differently.
And I would say that people won't pay £7 to £12 these days for a cinema, but people pay for streaming service. If they see The Flash, oh yeah, it got bad reviews, let's watch it as a joke. More people will watch it as just to see it, what it's about on the streaming service, because it's convenient, it's in their homes, it's in their space. They can turn it off if it's bad. They can't really leave a cinema because it's inappropriate, and you've paid for it.
Yeah.
And so I get it. And I didn't know about this until you mentioned it today. So I'm appalled that this is happening because not many people think about the writers, I'll be honest. And that's a hot take, because they think about your actors, your directors, you know. Not many people think that actually there's writing in this actual thought go into it. You know, they always think that, the main person's the director, the main person's the actor's doing it. But actually the writing is important. What you say, words have power. What you write and what the actor then takes those words and obviously does their interpretation of those words. It all fits together like cogs, you know, in a wheel.
It's like if you've got there's two thoughts here. The first is that if you've got a mediocre actor, if you give them Shakespeare, which in my opinion is wonderful writing, but maybe that's contentious. You've got a mediocre actor, and you give them wonderful writing. It's still pretty good. But the best actor in the world, if you've got like Ian McKellen or Patrick Stewart or Helen Mirren, whatever, Maggie Smith, you give them shit writing, it's never going to be good. No. It's never going to be good. Good actors cannot save bad writing. And it's really interesting, the different cultures, because in the UK, the writer is the most important person in a room in theatre.
Okay.
This is speaking from a theatre perspective. Yeah. It's all about the writer. It's all about the script. It's all about the text. In America, it's all about the director. There's a reason that directors have a stereotype of the chair and the turtleneck and being like, give it a little bit more zhuzh, and actors going, yes, thank you, let me lick your shoes clean. Yeah. You know, because in America, they're the most important person in the room, and the writers just kind of get shafted. In the UK, it's a different culture. But also, writing doesn't stop when a TV show starts. Okay. Because a writer still runs the show, because there's rewrites or if, you know, for example, in the wake of Black Lives Matter, a load of content for loads of different things got rewritten to make it more sensitive and appropriate, and maybe mention it, maybe not mention it, all this kind of thing. When, for example, in Matilda, in the West End, there was some controversy in the theatre world because someone wanted to put on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Peter Dinklage came out and was like, stop calling us dwarfs. And he was like, call us little people, call us small people. Vertically challenged is a weird one. You know, and there was just this whole thing about the language we use around different bodies. And so Matilda rewrote one of their lines that had in the song a dwarf called Zeke, a carnival freak. They changed it to a parrot called Zeke, a carnival freak. And that's really easy to do, but they needed the writer's permission to do all this. And it just updated the language to make it more appropriate. And so writing doesn't stop just when things start being filmed. And I've got a little list here of things that have been stopped since I
want to bring up a point before you go.
Okay, go on.
Because I can't remember who said this. I can't remember what big actor said this. I think it was Tom Hanks that said this. Don't quote me.
Okay.
That about rewriting things.
Yeah.
Is rewriting appropriate? He I think this actor, and I think it was Tom Hanks that said it, he wasn't a big fan of rewriting things that have already been written, things that have already been done, like Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. He wasn't a fan of rewriting the way things were written originally. Like, how do you feel about that?
I think it depends on what your rewrites are. Because there's an argument for like erasure of like these prejudices have always existed, and to pretend that they haven't existed is an insult to the communities that they have affected. But if it's not going to change the plot, if it's not going to alter the importance of the story, if it's not key to the message, take out that slur. Okay. like it doesn't change the quality of the song. If, for example, in this Matilda example, it doesn't change the quality of the song. It doesn't change the message of the musical. It's a throwaway line to make something rhyme. Just change the word. It doesn't harm anybody to change it. It only benefits people to change it. Yeah. So I think something like that. Yeah, but I can understand what he's saying about like so for example, another example, there's a play called Streetcar Named Desire, and in that play there is a rape scene, and that scene is quite important for the journey of the female lead in her sort of mental state after that scene. But a famous director cut that scene.
Right. And
it's like, why? And it's like, oh, well, I don't want to display unnecessary violence against women on stage. It's like, but that's the story. That it's without that being seen, without that context, if someone's never seen that play before, never read that play before, they're not going to be like, well, why did she go crazy at the end? Why did she do this? Why did she do that? It's completely unjustified. Crazy woman.
Yeah.
Because they, it's important to the dialogue that it exists. Yeah. So I think rewrites, they just need to be done within context. But yeah, a list of things that have been affected in the immediate. So Stranger Things, that stopped. Hacks of HBO, that stopped. Yellow Jackets, Cobra Kai, The Last of Us, The Handmaid's Tale, Severance, Abbott Elementary, over 15,000. Oh my God. I don't know why my phone's talking. Why is my phone talking? It's the news outlet that I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Over 15,000 like mini-series and production leads have been affected. House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Andor, all of Marvel, vampire thriller Blade, has all just ground to a halt. And obviously there's many, many more. Someone who I've been getting a lot of my information from is Neil Gaiman. He is close collaborator of Terry Pratchett before Terry Pratchett passed away. Good Omens, American Gods, The Graveyard Boy, all Sandman, that's Neil Gaiman, all of that. And he's striking, and he's really good at talking to his audience on his Tumblr and his social media, saying, like, answering questions about it, people asking how they can support the strike. Should I watch this? Should I not watch this? All of that kind of thing. His general consensus is things that have been made. So, for example, like Good Omens season 2, it needs to do well because it shows the like production studios that things do well when writers are in the room, when writers are attached to it. And so, like, supporting the writers. There's also loads of charities you can donate to. The WGA themselves, I think you can donate directly to if you want to. There's also like Snacks for America or something, Writers Snacks for America, which is basically feeding people on the picket lines because they're not taking in any income. How are they going to feed their families? This charity helps that. So there's lots of things. If people want to get involved, there's lots of things people can do. And you were saying earlier about Oppenheimer.
Yes. This week there was the UK or the Europe premiere of Oppenheimer, the Christopher Nolan film, and Emily Blunt and Cillian Murphy. And I do believe majority of the cast, that's not confirmed, but those two names popped out, have are supporting the strikes, and they have left the premiere of Oppenheimer. Now, Christopher Nolan's one of the biggest movies Christopher Nolan has ever made, and Christopher Nolan's an amazing director. He's going to be legendary. He is legendary with Interstellar, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, and now Oppenheimer. And for those actors to walk out and to strike, that sends a big message, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I mentioned something before this to you that I do find it funny how Margot Robbie on the Barbie premiere was asked about the strikes, and I saw this clip today actually, and she was like, "Yeah, I support the strikes there, but we need to do what we need to do." She swiftly moved on to speak to someone else, but she didn't leave the premiere. She didn't strike with her co-stars and people from other films. So it was very interesting to see about, what you earlier said about YouTubers and who's going to be striking and who's not. Because you saying we're going to be striking is one thing, but you saying and going to strike is a completely another thing. And I feel like words have power, but actions speak louder than words in this particular case, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see that.
I will say, I think it is incredible that other creatives are rallying behind this. It's really.
I mean, Christopher Nolan
moving.
is supporting the strike, and he's supporting his co-stars walking out. So
and like the fact that actors and directors and some producers and things like this are rallying behind this feels really moving. Feels really important. For people in this business kind of thing, it's a very big deal, and anyone who watches TV should care about this.
Oh yeah.
And it comes down to that sort of like ethical consumption thing about, you buy your clothes from places that has sweatshops or something. You watch TV from you've got exploited actors. Another example was the Black Widow controversy, in that Scarlett Johansson, for her Black Widow film, her Black Widow film was paid substantially less, like hundreds of thousands of dollars less, for being a lead Marvel like titular film compared to like the Captain America ones or the Black Panther ones or whatever. And she was the one that was branded like greedy and money grabbing for wanting to be paid.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole thing of like actors, it's a privilege to act. It's wonderful to act. It's wonderful to be an artist. You do it for free. And it's like, yeah, but I can't do it for free because I've got to pay rent. Yeah. So I think anyone who enjoys watching television, enjoys a miniseries, enjoys a podcast, enjoys books, anything that's ever been written, sketch comedy, Conan, Saturday Night Live, whatever it is, support your writer's strike. Because it's really important.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's so it is. That is, I mean, it is. And, it's, as you said, it's very important. It's very important to do that because it's hard watching bad content. It really is. It's big Marvel fans over here, and Marvel has just been really, as an example, that's my only example, have been really poor with the writing and the plot. And if you are telling, if what you are saying about they are using AI or they have really small rooms and there's only two or three writers, I see that why, because it's just been pointless, really.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. Yeah.
It's become about like an assembly line of just chugging out content.
Yeah.
And it's like they're making the same kind of movies because they think, people love, like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, whatever, did so well. It must be because people love the idea of parallel universes. Let's churn out so much content about that. As opposed to being, it's like actually people loved the art style. People loved the new animation techniques that were boldly just trialed, and people loved the writing because it was different. But they're like, it must be because people love space.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Cheer me up with I'm okay. So for people playing along at home, we have a working document that's like, oh, I'm going to talk about this.
Okay.
You have put under domestic bliss, orgasmic feeling.
Yes.
I need you to clarify. Cheer me up with that.
Okay. So I have a Dyson Hoover. I have a Dyson Hoover, right?
Wow.
Yeah. White.
White?
No, I'm white.
Oh, okay.
White
I
middle.
said wow.
I said white middle class. White middle class.
Okay.
I have a Dyson.
I really want a Dyson for Christmas. I'm just going to put it out there now. I'd love to get a good Hoover.
It's a Dyson Animal 11, which is just right over. I can see her. And
Her?
all right. So and can we cut that out?
No, not you referring to your Hoover as a her. What's her suction like?
Well, this is my thing. This is my thing, right? Listen, this is the thing about the Hoover. I'm using it. I'm using a Hoover, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty crap. And then there's a filter that comes off. Hang on, I'm actually going to demonstrate. Hang on.
Oh God. Okay, I will narrate. Eric is shuffling backwards, like how a baby shuffles its bum across the floor, but backwards to get his Hoover.
There we go. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
she's thin.
Oh yeah.
So for those playing along at home, it's like if you got a very, very large kitchen roll cardboard tube, put a purple light on the top, and make it a bit thicker. That is what Eric's Hoover looks like.
So I was a bit like, this Hoover is not sucking well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to make a joke.
Sure. The joke's right themselves, Eric.
Oh yeah. This is a joke. And I was like, oh, I'm going to check the filter, and this filter comes off. And this
Eric
filter
has removed the purple top.
This filter was filthy. It was absolutely disgusting.
She a dirty girl.
She was a dirty girl. So I cleaned the filter out, and the difference in suction power was phenomenal. And I'm honestly, this is if you ever like clean the filter or change something on your Hoover, and the immediate power you get from it, you know how this feels. And for me, that's domestic bliss of orgasmic cleaning. It was just like beforehand.
In your little maid outfit.
Yeah, in my little maid outfit. Beforehand, it was really, really testing me in terms of picking up the little crumbs. But today, when it's all cleaned out and the Hoover filter is cleaned out, it was the little crunchy noises you hear. Oof, yes. Hits the stuff.
Amazing.
Hits the back of,
My Hoover is so bad that I have to get on my hands and knees and pick things out that are stepped into the carpet. I have to pick things out with my hands, or like get a brush, like a sweeping brush, and like sort of scrub the floor like I'm a curling Olympiad, scrubbing the floor with my brush to loosen all the things in the carpet before she'll even be able to even try. But it's still not very good. And I've cleaned all the filters. I've emptied that thing out so many times. I took the whole thing apart. I YouTubed the manual to this Hoover. So I would properly disassemble it and put it back together and not like break it. Deep cleaned my Hoover, and it made not one bit of difference. So I think I just need to save up and get a decent Hoover. Yeah. It's my carpets. Oh boy, they look like it's beginning to look like a pattern.
Okay.
There's so many and also they're like black gray specks of dust that just accumulate on a carpet. I don't know what it is, but I'm not trudging coal through my house. There's not coal dust on my carpet.
Yeah.
But there's just, and it's beginning to look like an intentional pattern. That's how much.
Maybe it's a sign. Maybe it's a sign from the universe
that I need to get a good Hoover.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sign well received.
But imagine when you get your new Hoover, the suction power you're gonna get. Oh. You would want to Hoover every day.
I would. I wouldn't need to, but I would. I
love hoovering. It's my favorite thing to do is Hoover, because the after
Good.
It's just great. Amazing.
This is the thing. I used to get enjoyment from hoovering, but I don't now because I have to do 4 jobs before I can hoover.
Yeah.
So to counter your domestic bliss, what is your domestic miss? Do you have one?
Yes, I do have one this week. Actually happened yesterday. Now, I live in a rented house, and we have a little cupboard which is behind this camera. There's like a little cupboard, and it's where like a lot of my stuff is kept, like, extra bits and bobs, extra shoes are kept in there. And I opened the door yesterday, the fucking hinge broke. The whole fucking hinge fell off. And I look at...
Well, as said last week, you don't need hinge anymore.
No. But besides that, the hinge fell off. And I look at the hinge, and the wood's all rotten. So it wasn't properly even done. And it's like, well, I'm going to have to report it to the landlord. The landlord will probably tell me that it's my fault, obviously, because, I rot the wood. And it's going to be a whole story. So that's not great. So that's my domestic miss for this week in Domestic Bliss.
That's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see how it is. But you have a domestic bliss into bliss.
Yes.
Please tell me, because apparently this is gonna shock me. So please, go, let me prepare myself. Let me lube up.
What are you doing? Oh, he's drinking water. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so this domestic bliss into a domestic miss, back into a domestic bliss. This comes from an audience member. I reached out to this person, being like, "This is brilliant. Can I talk about this?" And they were like, "Yes." And then about the original bliss. Then there was a twist. It became a miss, and I was like, "I'm still going to talk about it." And then it became a bliss again through a separate event. I'm being very cryptic. This is silly. This wonderful audience member was Fran.
Oh.
Okay.
Please. Fran knows too much.
For once, Eric, this is not about you.
Okay.
So Fran put on their story a amazing looking meal that looked like scrambled eggs on toast. Okay. And it was like bacony, cheesy. I think there was a bit of salad going on. Mm-hmm. There was like very colorful, looked like a well-balanced, like, a healthy meal. And I was like, this is wonderful. What is this? And then they were like, oh, it was meant to be a carbonara, but the cream was off and the bacon tasted funny. And I just sort of, and the cream like curdled. So I just squished it about to make sort of a scrambled eggs. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so this was pasta. And then they were like, yeah. And I'm like, well, it looks very good. How was it? And they were like, oh, so that's the bliss. And then it was like, actually, yeah, I got sick. That shit was bad. The bacon was off, the cream was off, the fridge had actually like broken.
Okay.
And it was quite traumatic. And then it was redeemed because a few days later, and also I'm rereading this Instagram conversation, and my original like thing was, when I say something that's a bit shocking, I'm like, holy hamburgers, Batman. I've said that to Fran so many times because every time they post a story that I'm like, oh, they look hot or that looks tasty or whatever, I'm like, holy hamburgers, Batman. And it's just all of our conversations, just me saying that. It's ridiculous. Anyway, they posted one of the most sumptuous looking meals I've ever seen in my life. And it was not a picture of either of us for a start. What it was.
It's so egotistical.
I'm not wrong. So let me just get this right.
Oh, the tension you're making. Oh,
sorry. Okay, bangers and mash is already an elite meal. We can agree.
Debatable.
It's with cheesy mash, juicy, juicy, thick sausages, wonderful onion gravy. Stunning. What Fran had done, Fran had elevated this meal by putting the whole thing into a homemade giant Yorkshire pudding.
I saw this yesterday. Yeah.
And it looked like the most delicious thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I actually salivated looking at this giant Yorkshire pudding. A giant Yorkshire pudding is in and of itself a holy item of food.
Yeah.
There is nothing bad about it. And I just thought this was brilliant. And I was like, I said, what do you call this dish? Giant Yorkshire pudding bangers and mash. A great title. Bangers and mash with a twist. And I was like, what's your top tip? And they didn't give me one, so it was a secret. But apparently it was a complete fluke. They pulled it off first try. So I just want to shout out Fran's domestic bliss of their culinary expertise of, improvise, adapt, overcome. They had some carbonara. It went wrong. It ended up as garlicky, cheesy bacon on toast.
Yeah.
That went very wrong. But then they pulled it back. They pulled it back. They had us in the first half, but they pulled it back by putting a giant Yorkshire pudding filled with goodness.
Yeah.
And I thought it was brilliant.
I mean,
it's just something so wonderful about a really, really fulfilling meal.
Honestly, I've lived with Fran for 3 years. And Fran is an amazing cook. When we were back at uni together, we were always, or most of the time, we had Sunday roast together and with a flat. We did every single year. We cooked a Christmas meal, and she's an amazing cook. She knows what she's doing. So that's a big green flag for Fran there, for her as a person. So I did see those. It looked really tasty. It looked very, very tasty. So yeah.
Oh, we didn't do red flag games.
Did we not?
No, we didn't talk about that.
Oh.
We'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, next time. Red flag games. We'll repost the post and we can get at some more.
Yeah. I did get a couple, but but we'll extend that one because let's talk about some positive and uplifting things to end the show before we do what you're doing in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so my positive things. So last week we started this segment. So this week we're going to carry on the segment. So
I think it's nice, and also we used to do it on the original Shots Fired.
The original Shots Fired, the OG Shots Fired.
Yeah. The original Shots Fired, where we were at uni doing this as a radio show on the uni radio. We ended our. Oh, my doorbell just rang. I'm so sorry. Please just vamp.
So this is new. I don't know what to do now. So for those of you that, originally we used to do this as a way of, the positive and uplifting news was a way of ending the show back in the day. I think in the past, we... Thank God you're back. I was just talking crap.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
My neighbor needed to collect their parcel.
Okay. So.
Okay.
So back in the day, me and Max used to do quite a lot of. I think original Shots Fired had a more current affairs segments where we talked about a lot of stuff like Trump and the EU, and it was quite doom and gloom and depressing. And the positive and uplifting news was basically a way to end the show with something positive and looking forward to what's happening in the world. And I think that's a good way to end the show. But my positive and uplifting news is something quite personal to me. So for those of you that know me personally, I used to work at a place called Peak Wildlife Park, which is a wildlife park in the Peak District near Leek. And I follow them quite closely on social media, etc. And it was something that I really I'm passionate about. Anyway, this week whilst we were away, so they have announced that Peak Wildlife Park are getting polar bears. They're getting 3 new polar bears into the wildlife park that they have. They have created a custom-built 5-acre habitat, and they are collaborating with the EASA, which is the European Association of Zoos and Aquarium, and the European Ex Situ program for polar bears, which is basically trying to increase the number of polar bears species. So I think that is wonderful news. I think I'm excited to go. So for those of you that are in the area, the polar bear habitat opens in August 2023, so very, very soon. And I will be going because I really want to see this. I think it's wonderful. I was honestly, I picked up my friend from the train station, and I was watching Instagram, and I saw the news. And it's made the rounds onto BBC Midlands. It's made round onto different radio shows, BBC radio shows. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And no better way to celebrate that day than today, as it is today, is the Arctic Sea Ice Day. So do get involved with spreading the word about Arctic Sea Ice Day, because we do need to protect the planet, and we do need to protect Arctic sea ice, because that covers the majority of the polar bears' habitats that we have. So do go to Peak Wildlife Park. It's an amazing little wildlife park. Well, it's not going to be so little now, it's going to have polar bears, but it's an amazing place to go for your day with your kids or your grandkids, or just with your whoever. And so do check them out. It's really, really nice, and that is my positive uplifting news, because I really do care about that place quite a lot, because it's probably, I will say this again, and I say this again and again, it's probably my favorite place I've ever worked at. Ever. It beats science. It beats the wine and cheese place we worked at together.
Oh my God, wine and cheese.
That's another story.
We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah. So I really do support it, and really do go and check them out, and do try and do the most you can to protect sea ice.
That's very nice. That is very positive and uplifting.
It is.
I'm writing a memo down to talk about wine and cheese in the polls.
Okay.
So that we don't forget.
So what is your positive and uplifting news, Max?
So I have two, which is a bit cheeky. Mm-hmm. But you know how last week I was talking about pulsar time arrays, and how scientists are very excited this week at that point, because these funky waves are going to move through the Earth and slow down the clocks, and we can use it to understand the universe a bit more, and that's really cool. Well, that happened.
Okay.
And from it, scientists discovered that time is moving 5 times slower after the Big Bang, which is exactly as Einstein predicted back when Einstein was doing his thing. But now we can prove it because we've measured it.
Yeah.
And the reason we should care about this is because it strengthens the theory that time is a actual physical thing that is intrinsically tied to space. And I don't just mean space as in the stars. I mean space as in the area that we occupy, the room. So time and space and matter are intrinsically linked. And it's we're not the Earth is moving through space as a place to move through, but it's also moving through an ocean of time, a soup of time. And it helps us just understand how the universe works a bit more. This sort of this time array was powered by quasars or quasars. I think it's quasars, which are the most powerful object in the known universe. There was a really cool quote. Time moves 500% slower now that in the earliest chapter of the universe than it would today. So quasars are powered by supermassive black holes, billions of times larger than the sun, surrounded by gas and everything. Because gravity is so much that it pulls gas to it. It's very weird to get your head around. But the energy they emit is beyond anything we can't metaphorize it. It's like nothing else. And if we can measure that energy, we can understand how it works and why it works the way it works. We can understand much more about the origins of the universe and the Big Bang Theory and all this kind of thing. Even though we know the Big Bang is a fact because you can fucking see it. it's very cool for nerds out there who are maybe getting a little like tickled that I'm talking about this. Time is a physical object. It's a soup that we are moving through, like stirring minestrone chunks in a soup. Like time is the broth. We are the pasta.
Okay.
And we're the lubs in the soup. And it proves that time is, this is going to sound a bit weird, time is matter, and matter has to be created from something. Energy cannot be created, it can only be changed. So before the Big Bang, there must have been something for us to be created from, and time is now one of those things that we can include in that. So it must have come from somewhere.
Wow.
It's mad. So that was a little like follow-up for people who were interested last week when I was talking about that.
Skegford has said that quasars are pretty giga.
Pretty giga. There you go.
There you go.
My more comprehensible, good and uplifting news is a blood test is being trialed that can discover a very, very silent type of ovarian cancer. So this type of ovarian cancer is typically only findable, traceable, once it has spread to other areas, which of course makes it massively more difficult to treat, because you have, in order to find the cancer, they always say if you find cancer early, it's much more treatable. But the only way you can detect this cancer is if it becomes more advanced, which is obviously terrible. But they've found proteins that you can get from saliva, from blood, from any kind of fluid. They found these 3 little proteins that this cancer in the first stage emits or creates. And so that's massive, because if they can perfect this blood test, this very simple blood test, it wouldn't be such a silent killer anymore, and you wouldn't have to wait for it to get worse before you even spot it. So that's really positive and uplifting news from me.
Yeah. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I worked very hard on it.
We've got a question from Skegford here. Are there any archives of the OG shots fired?
I don't know. I mean, they were all on the university, like Phantom Radio page.
So there is things we don't own. So if you go on to the Phantom Radio or even University of Derby Students' Union, you can pretty much see them if they still have them up. I don't know if they do or if they don't. But yeah, there was hours of content. I think we did like 30 to 40 episodes over a year.
Yeah.
Because we did it weekly. We didn't do it bi-weekly. We did it weekly for 2 hours. And it is on there. It may be. But other than that, that's the content. You can probably watch Shots Fired try to be revived, but we can't get into that YouTube account because YouTube have locked us out.
I think we should redo the games that we did in those 2 episodes, which was, there was a Room 101. What was the other things we did?
Room 101 and
I can't remember what else we did.
We did something else. But yeah, those videos, the 2 videos. But
to be fair, I think my Room 101 things won't have changed.
Oh no, I still hate on Greta Thunberg. She just
I still think America as a whole concept should go into Room 101.
Yeah. Skegford has just said, nice, just wanted to know if there are any historical footage of a young politically charged Eric.
Yeah, it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Thing is, we can't really do anything with that content because it's not ours. It is the university's content, so they can do whatever they want with it. But I don't think they're going to do anything with it. So I don't know.
No.
So yeah, that's it. Well,
so what are you doing over the next? Cue the music. Woo!
What we're going to do over next week?
Next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks. I don't think I have anything planned. I think I've got no plans for my life.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty. Oh no, I know. I'm going to a barbecue.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm going to the barbecue, and that's it. So next Saturday I'm going to a barbecue, and that is me for next week, for next 2 weeks.
Got
What about
loads
yourself?
done.
Wow.
So, so Joe is currently in Johannesburg, with work.
In South Africa.
Yeah. South Africa. I did say that, yeah. And basically they're putting in a new studio, and so I don't really know what it means, but in my head he's just like plugging in a lot of shit.
Okay. Very good.
But I know that he's not doing that because we had a call yesterday. But basically, like, it's a lot of problem solving. The studio goes live on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
This is a broadcasting studio for television and news and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes live on Monday, so they're doing a lot of troubleshooting and trial and error and things like that to make sure everything is up and running, ready to go live on Monday. So he's back on Wednesday. I'm calling my friend Jess on Sunday. I've got D&D, and I've got some audition days in the end of July, and most exciting, most important, got a baby shower on the 29th.
Yes. Baby shower.
Yes, and the present that I've been working on for my soon-to-emerge niece is finished. In case Stephen and Rachel watch this, I'm not going to say what it is.
Okay, fair enough.
But I can talk about it next time.
Yeah.
And for listening delight, next time is a very special episode.
Very, very special.
Not just because we'll be binge-worthy amount of time, but what is happening next episode, Eric?
So, for those of you listening today, obviously you know that Shots Fired is filmed on a Saturday, and me and Max are filming separately, obviously, in London and Nottingham. Episode 6, binge-worthy episode 6, is going to happen, unfortunately, on Sunday the 30th now, because
I'm in York for a baby shower.
Yeah. However, what's going to happen is that me and Max are going to be in the same room at the same time filming Shots Fired.
Yay!
Yeah! So we'll be in my house filming Shots Fired. It's going to be amazing. We're gonna have a great time. So for those of you who are going to listen live, Sunday the 30th, Shots Fired live in one room.
Yeah, in the same time. And like the little banner that we've got on at the moment on the YouTube with both like our frame will be Eric's gonna move that around to accommodate both of us in one frame, and also tech will be completely different because I'll be bringing my microphone,
big boy.
But we'll need to make sure we'll have to make sure that there's another USB port for me to plug it into.
It'll be fine.
And we won't. Will we? I don't think we'll need headphones.
Yeah, definitely. So we can hear each other, I think.
Well, but we'll be next to each other.
Oh yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But
yeah. So
exciting episodes.
Who knows what it's going to be like? Because we'll be in person in the same room.
Episode 6, binge-worthy. Episode 6.
Yep.
Is that like a mid-season finale?
Are we only doing 12?
Yeah.
It's a canon event. We're going up until like November, then we're just going to be like, I'm done now.
You're joking. We will never be finished.
We'll pause for another 3 years.
Oh, no, not anymore. Until we're big, we won't pause.
Oh, okay.
I've got ambitions now.
Okay, well, yeah, now we've hit 100 downloads.
Yeah.
Fame has gone to our heads.
We should set goals.
Maybe that's what Patreon would be for. I don't know if we're quite big enough for a Patreon yet, but I love the idea that we one day might. That's really surreal to me. Anyway, keep sharing the love, sharing Shots Fired. Word of mouth is how a podcast grows. And if you think we're at all entertaining or interesting to listen to, someone else might that you know too. So every share that you give, every poll that you answer helps us. So thank you very much for getting involved. And we will see you guys in
next
2
time.
weeks on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, the Lord's Day, Shots Fired Day.
Yeah, the Lord's. Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Lords and ladies, lords and lordesses. Okay, we should stop.
Yeah, let's stop because we're now getting into Christianity and I'm not about that.
Right, thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.